Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX agency, and this is Tuesday Office Hours Ask Me Anything, where I hang out for an hour and take your questions. I already have 5 questions because you can ask questions ahead of time at deltacx.link/ask. Hello, David in LinkedIn. Thanks for joining. And let's see if I can get this working. This should show people's comments. Let's give it a try. All right, so I'm going to jump right in and just remind everybody that I'm taking questions on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and through the anonymous way. And you can even tweet at me, though nobody has yet. So let's take a look at the questions that I've got. And I've got to copy and paste them because they came in anonymously, so you can't see them. Okay. This was the first one. Okay. Here we go. And this is a question. Ooh, the font is tiny. Sorry, that's because we also get long questions. So this question says, what is your opinion about the Sean Ellis test? Measures product market fit. Well, I thought a great thing to do would be for us to travel together to a webpage I found about the Sean Ellis test and just make sure we're all familiar with it as a group trip. So here we go. So the Sean Ellis test is evidently where you take people who have experienced your product or service at least twice and at least in the last 2 weeks, so that you have people who are users, they're familiar. I don't know if they've paid or not, but they're in the system. And then you're supposed to ask them, how would you feel if you could no longer use our product? And of course, the choices are very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, not disappointed, something along those lines. And the idea is that according to this, if you get 40% or more of people saying they would be very disappointed, then you have product market fit. You have built a product that has a market and fits the market. And they're saying if your test score is below 40%, then, are you really giving your customers what they want? So let me flip back. Let's use this button so I don't mess it up today. How about that? I don't want to set off my theme song by mistake. So what do I think of that? I think a few things. I think number one, I'm never totally a fan of surveys to try to understand how our products are doing. And, there's so much that happens within a product that there's so much more than would you be disappointed. I mean, really the question to me is, are we easily replaceable? Because some of you know right now I'm in the process of removing, let's see, we've got a question from Soul. I'll put that on the end of the list. The list is long today, but we'll get you on there, so please be patient. The question is, are we easily replaceable? Because, in the example on that screen, it was, how disappointed would you be if you no longer had Slack? I'd be disappointed. And then I'd sign up for Discord. The question is, what are we measuring? Because, I'd be disappointed if Slack went away, but then I'd replace it without blinking. So what are we really measuring here? What does that tell us? I also believe very strongly that that is an extremely lagging indicator. That is like way, way down the line. We've built it, we've released it, it's live, people are using it hypothetically for weeks or months, and now we're going to try to figure out if we have product market fit. That seems really late and really reactive. So I would probably say anybody who's looking to measure product market fit should be doing this way earlier. Now, typically the MVP is supposed to help you determine product market fit by having you build your idea quickly, get it out there, and see if it's going in the right direction. But MVPs can be flawed. To me, that's even wasteful. That's lean waste we could cut, because we can know from CX and UX research, design, usability testing, we can know before engineers write a line of code if this product is going in the right direction. Where I think Agile and the MVP tend to go wrong is, we're going to have to build it and put it out there to know if people like any or all of this. And I go, Wow, that's really learning late in the game. So I would say that while the Sean Ellis test is interesting and it'll give you a number, it's not really a measurement of loyalty. And it's a measure that you have a market that likes you, and that's fine. But I think that by the time you'd be running a Sean Ellis test, you'd know if you had product market fit or not. Are you getting, a lot of people look for traction and adoption. Are you getting traction and adoption? If you're not getting that, then, you might not have product market. I think there are probably things you would see before the Sean Ellis test that tell you if you have product market fit. And of course, if you're correctly utilizing UX peeps, you would know even earlier. So I'm going to go with that as my answer. Linda, great to see you today. I've put your question at the end of our list, but we are going to go to the next question on our list, which looks like this. I'm very excited about this question. Anonymous friend of the show asks, are hackathons helping organizations to achieve innovation? Will it be a successful approach to problem solving if proper generative research is done up front and teams are working on actual user needs? What is right or wrong? Okay, so obviously we're trying to build up a world for this hypothetical hackathon where people are going into it with amazing knowledge about our users. We're assuming from the person who asked the question that really excellent generative research has been done by experts and specialists. I should sign up for Discord regardless. I have a great list of UX-related Discords. You imagine that I have time for these things. That's very sweet. No, thank you. I'm signed up to the Discord for my favoriteest musician on the planet, the guy who did our theme song. Oh, thanks for subscribing, Pascalou. My favoriteest musician who did our theme song, I'm signed up to his Discord and I don't even log in and read it. I'm just no time. Okay, so let's talk about hackathons. Now, if a hackathon has great research behind it and we really understand users and their tasks and their needs and their preferences, their perspectives, and we've done a good job at the beginning of the hackathon giving UX way more than 10 minutes to make sure people understand all of this, and that we've shown them video clips and we've explained all the things, we've shown them the journeys and the task analysis and whatever. Now the question is, now people are doing the hackathon. Now, I think that hackathons don't guarantee innovation. We have to remember that the true definition of innovation is something that's never been seen before. It's completely new. Innovation means pretty much the same thing as an invention. It's really something that's not that new. And we know it's new because it's got the word nova in the middle of innovation, and that is a Latin root for new. So, if your hackathon peeps are making something great that isn't innovative, that's still great. I don't want to only reward people if they invent something that's never been done before. I would still want to reward hackathon teams for greatness, especially greatness related to real users' needs and solving their problems. We don't have to just look for innovation. Now, many companies where I've worked or consulted or been involved with, I often hear about hackathons, and I often hear about the winning idea from a hackathon going nowhere. It won, never went anywhere, didn't get fed into discovery, didn't get fed into the product system, didn't get fed into the UX team for additional design, went nowhere. So I would say make sure if you are going to run a hackathon that you have a line to get this into the UX team so that the UX team can take a look at this and possibly improve on the idea and put it through the usual UX stuff. Just because it wins a hackathon doesn't mean it gets released live immediately. It should still go through a proper product and UX process so that we can make it better, usability test it, iterate on it, etc. Also, there could be many other good ideas at the hackathon that for whatever reason didn't win. Those should be given to UX as well. Really give all the ideas to UX and see what they can do with them, and of course credit the hackathon people if we get there. So are hackathons helping organizations to achieve innovation? It is so hard to think of any company that is innovating. And I asked this on LinkedIn a year or two ago, and I said, tell me about the most innovative thing that you can think of. Most people talked about things happening in science and medicine. Very few talked about websites and apps. So I think we have to ask ourselves, what does innovation look like? And let me ask the people watching live right now, what can you think of something that was truly innovative, truly an invention? What comes to mind when I say that? Because chances are it could be a website or an app, but it's probably not. So are hackathons helping organizations achieve innovation? I think we do a lot of innovation theater. I think design thinking, design sprints, and hackathons tend to be innovation theater more than they tend to be true innovation. But of course, the proof is in the pudding. So can we find anything that tells us how much innovation is really coming from hackathons? Because I think a lot of hackathons produce better mousetraps, better ideas, improvements, new ways of doing things that we weren't doing, but they might not be completely innovative. And I think the question is, do we really need innovation or do we need greatness? Is greatness enough? I think greatness is enough because I can barely get greatness. Anybody in the chat room, can you think of something really innovative? I mean, when I think of innovative, I think of Pal Mickey, and I think episode 31 is about Pal Mickey. So, of course, you can go back into our YouTube archives, into the podcasts playlist, or just go to YouTube and write Delta CX Pal Mickey, PALMICKEY. That's the most innovative thing I can think of, and that is from the late 90s, early 2000s, and that did not come from a hackathon. So who can say, you know? But I think that it's probably more innovation theater. That would be my guess. All right, let's add the anonymous question to the end of the list, and let's take a look at the next question. Okay. Sorry, it's a long list already, but people are starting to send them ahead of time, and so the queue is long. Okay. Hi, Debbie. I find jobs to be done really similar to task analysis. How different and how similar are these approaches? Again, let's go to the website. So I went and looked up an article on jobs to be done because I am not an expert on jobs to be done. I'm living in the task analysis world. But let's take a look. Boom. This should show you me and my screen. Yes. Oh, and the question is still up. Okay, so, oops, and I am getting emails, which I should close down. There you go. So disregard wacky emails. So according to this, if I'm understanding this correctly, and I recognize that I might not be, jobs to be done is about understanding which needs are unmet, segments of customers with unique sets of unmet needs, and then of course that's going to lead you to conceptualize amazing products. You might even predict what's going to win in the marketplace. Ooh. And you're going to align lots of departments at your company. If you still have R&D, that would be great, but most companies killed R&D, which is a whole other story. So down here, and they talked about like, hey, you know, we found that customers tend to be the person using the product, somebody supporting that, and sometimes a person making the financial decision. Yes, we know this. These are things that task analysis has in common with jobs to be done. And to me, where it gets different, let's take a look at some of the graphics they have here. So here they're showing you've got a job, and then you've got steps. Steps, 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 steps. Maybe the step has to do with define, locate, prepare, confirm, you know, or maybe not. Steps, steps, steps. And they talk about the customer's desired outcome. Each step, desired outcome. I'm doing this step because I hope this. I'm doing this step, desired outcome, this. Step, step, please buy my book. Okay, so that being said, let's flip back to a giant picture of me. Oh, and I didn't see Elizabeth is here. Elizabeth says, we'll read Elizabeth's comment in a moment, though it's already up on the screen. So one of the differences between jobs to be done and task analysis that makes me prefer task analysis is, let's clear the screen for a moment. Clear this one too. Let's put up task analysis. So task analysis has step, step, step. And we know what the user's desired outcome from each step is, though we technically don't map that because chances are the desired outcomes move to the next step, but it might not be. But what I saw missing from jobs to be done that lives in task analysis that I find to be irreplaceable is the rest of this. The idea that we are not just mapping out the steps, but we are mapping out parameters around the steps. And if that exists in jobs to be done, I've missed it. If people have added it to jobs to be done to make it better, that's, you could. But I love the way that task analysis says at every step, I want to know the tools and the knowledge and the workarounds that were involved in this step. Did they pull out a calculator? Did they check a cheat sheet? Did they have to ask a coworker for help? Did they realize there was something they didn't know? We asked, like, for example, we did some research last year and we asked people what Pantone color they wanted their printing to be. A bunch of people didn't know what Pantone colors were, but this is a printing website. They assumed people understood what Pantone colors were. I saw one person write navy. Navy is not a Pantone color. Pantone colors have numbers. So that's knowledge. We've talked a lot on the channel in the micro lessons about knowledge and knowledge gaps, knowledge dependencies, and knowledge design. So we map that out. We can see that. We can share that with others. And we map out issues, concerns, and obstacles down here by my microphone. And the idea is also in that step of the task, what's going on that could be a deal breaker? What makes people have doubt? What's frustrating, confusing, not working for them here? What is going on that is a negative or an unanswered question outside of the tools, knowledge, and workaround? And the great thing is that gives you essentially, drawing a box in the air, 6 new categories of things where you can find insights and opportunities, where you can find room for improvement or room for disruption or room for innovation or room for whatever you want to call it, room for amazingness. Or as I just said in a meeting, freaking awesomeness. So to me, that's what really makes it special, because I could easily do a customer journey map. To me, the question is, what's the difference between customer journey map and jobs to be done? Because it's like step, 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 what the user thinks, what the user feels, what they do next. Jobs to be done seems like a customer journey map with a little bit of the focus on the outcome. Like, what do people want to happen? Okay. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here. I'll read your comments in a moment. So I would say that's one of the key differences between task analysis and optimized task flow, also in that, I don't know if jobs to be done does this, but then you do the optimized task flow, which is where you take a look at all this and you go, wow, how do we remove steps? Or how do we make the system do steps? What about these 6 areas? What can we remove? What can we make the system do? How do we make this more intuitive, easy to learn, easy to use? So that's some of the key differences to me. I'm not an expert on jobs to be done, so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but those are some things that I'm thinking. Let's take a look at what Elizabeth is saying. Elizabeth says, on that note about design thinking, I received an offer for a position that has a design thinking group that conducts quick UX research and develops prototypes that get sent to a larger UX group for research and testing. Does this even seem like design thinking? I'm concerned that they call themselves design thinking, but as a UX newbie, I don't know what to think. Okay, that seems like a question. I'm going to put that at the end of our list. Sorry, no offense. But now that I thought it was a comment. Now that it's a question, we're just going to have to add you on the list for later. But it's an interesting thing, and let's talk about it. So cool. Okay, next question that came in anonymously ahead of time. Thanks, Elizabeth. Paste, and let's show this question. Hi, Debbie. What kind of research I should do to get insights on how to improve customer understanding towards a product or service? Okay, I didn't understand this person's question, and we ended up emailing back and forth, and I'm not going to show their emails, but they ended up saying they have a product that's new for their region. Customers are not really familiar with this type of product. It's that new for their region. It's available in other countries, new for this country. People really don't know about it or what to do. And it sounds like when people try to sign up for it, they don't always follow through because they don't even understand what the product is. So I think that what I would do for research is I would probably want to research behaviors and attitudes around whatever problem we think this is going to solve. So if this is going to solve something about people's jobs or something about people's finances. I mean, chances are whatever this is, they have these problems now. There's a problem they have now, and they're either doing nothing about it or they're doing something about it. And the question is, what are they doing about it? And is there a way that this product can make sense in their life? So again, knowing the very little that I do, I would probably be suggesting some generative research, probably interviewing people. I can't really think of a task to make them do, but just to learn some of their attitudes and activities around improving whatever this is. So whether it's being more educated or fixing their finances or getting a job or whatever you're going to work to solve, what are their perceptions around this? How do they do this now? And things like that. Okay, Grace has a question. We'll put that on the end. And I also saw we have an anonymous question. I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring you. We'll put you before Grace's question because I saw you came in between. Let's take a look at the anonymous question. Okay. Anonymous question from creative person. We're adding you to the list now, but it is a long list. Person who asked this question, we've been emailing back and forth because I wanted to get more information about this. So you are welcome to contact me privately if it can help. But, and Raquel says, let's put Raquel's, your comment probably, no, oops, it didn't come up. I can put it up now. Thank you, Raquel. Good to see you. It seems that the product or service is looking for needs and not the other way around. Right. So it might be that this exists in another country and we think this could work in our country. But the question is, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So I would definitely be researching these people now and more research around this problem, how people perceive this problem, what do they want to do about this problem, what do they do about this problem? Maybe they do nothing about this problem. And if you introduce a product to fix this problem, they'll go, no, I'm fine doing nothing about this problem. Remember, it's only a problem if it's a problem to the user. If you think it's a problem and they don't, I mean, that's how my startup died back in Silicon Valley. I know it's a problem. And all of my target users said, no, I'm fine. This is okay. Dog in a burning room. So I think Raquel's got a good point. What you have may be a good solution for other countries, and what you have may be a good solution for the country where you are, but we've got to learn more about people's approaches and attitudes and behaviors because this may or may not be a fit for them. Just because it worked in America or England or whatever doesn't mean it's going to work where you are. And I just have a little extra knowledge because the person who asked it, we emailed back and forth today. So I know more stuff, but I don't want to give away more stuff. So thank you for that super question. Then we got another question, which was partially shouted, and it looks like this. It says, I want to start e-commerce business in multiple areas like food delivery, call on cab, fashionery items, and grocery. I have complete business proposal and company registrations in India, so I need good investors or investing partners to invest in India. How do I get global investors? Unlikely. Many of these businesses already exist in India. So the question is, what can you offer that is so different from companies who have years and years already doing these things in India? How would you beat these other competitors? You certainly don't want to pay workers less. So what exactly is going to be your differentiation? And also, this seems a little bit unfocused. Somehow you're going to offer everything. You're going to be e-commerce and food delivery and cabs and fashions and groceries. This sounds like A, a little unfocused, but B, like a lot of Indian services that I know already exist. And in some cases, those services are quite, not confidential, controversial. Those services are controversial. There's safety issues. There's low payment problems. There's the pressure people are under. So I am not sure you're going to get an investment because this doesn't seem like a new thing. This seems like something that's already quite popular in India with companies that have longevity and customer bases. So, yeah, that's my. Oh, we've got a new Russian porn spammer. Boo. Are you watching today, honey? Thanks. Sorry, my boyfriend's in charge of killing. They've changed their URL though. Yeah, I know. I don't know how YouTube can't figure this out. I have like 0 Russian fans. So, I don't know. But, they always have almost the same URLs. You'd think they would figure it out. So anyway, how to get investors is the $8 zillion question. And sorry, we'll take that down. And I don't have a good answer on that because I've seen companies get investment for bad reasons, and I've seen companies that should have get investment get no investment. So I don't think I have a good answer here, but my question would be, especially having recently done an MBA, is what's the difference? What's so special? What are you going to do that's different and better than what's already out there? Because if I'm a global investor or an investor of any kind, why would I invest in you rather than putting more money into the ones who are already successful? What are you going to do that's different or better? Yes, your business proposal is supposed to explain that, but I can't tell you how to get investors. I don't know that. That's not my specialty. And but you have to be able to show that you're doing something different and better. So sorry I can't be more helpful there. Not my area of expertise. Okay, we've got a question from someone who's actually here, if still here, Soul. There we go. Hello, Soul. That's a cute picture. Oh, is that a mask? Please wear the mask. Question, what is CX UX in the future regarding Web3? Always a good question, but I got to tell you, I'm also not an expert on Web3. Now, we did have some people on the show who know more about this stuff than I do. We had Bettina on the show. She talked about crypto and NFTs, so you can always watch that show. It was like 134 or 133. You'd have to roll back in the live stream podcast playlist to see where that was. Web3, I don't know. You know who else would know? Destiny. Are you in our Slack channel? This would be a great question to ask in the Slack channel and maybe do an @Destiny. Destiny with an I on the end. She knows her stuff and she hangs out in our Slack channel. If you are not in our Slack channel and you would like to be, follow the link from deltacx.com/links. We've got all the information you'd want to know about the show is on that page. So head over there and please do subscribe. If you're having fun and you enjoy the show, please send it over to people you know, people you love. Tell people about the channel. So I'm sorry I don't know more about that, Soul, but at least I can tell you the people who do. You're looking up Bettina, who I'm connected to on LinkedIn. You can find her there, Bettinna, and she kind of goes by one word. Hi, I-10. And Destiny Elise, who I mostly see on our Slack channel. But she is working in UX, in crypto and stuff, and I think she'll know more about this. So again, sorry I didn't know, but hopefully I can direct you to the people who do. All right, let's see what our next question was. Hold on, I'm having trouble finding them with all of my windows. Oh, there it is. Okay. Here is a very common question, but we haven't seen it in a while, so let's talk about this. And while we do, I'm going to take a little Chloraseptic, and while I do that, not sponsored, let's remember to please say thanks to everybody who joined the channel on YouTube and pays between $3 and $10 a month to financially support it. I made $800 last year. Thanks for that. I bought cheese and chocolate. That is a sound of Chloraseptic spray not spraying. Hopefully that'll still help. But thank you to everybody who donates to the channel. It is completely optional, but always appreciated. Alrighty, back to the question. Ooh, I hit the wrong button. Too many buttons. I think you've all seen my setup. All right. Should UX researchers learn the skills of the roles they work with? Learning to code, high fidelity wireframing, visual design. Oh, hi, Ryan. Yes, Ryan, I picked up your anonymous question and it's on the list. I promise I will get to it. We just have a long list today. And thank you for coming. Visual design, content strategy, and to what extent? My answer to that always is, do you want to do those things in your day-to-day job? If you don't want to write code, don't learn code. If you don't want to be a visual designer, don't learn visual design. Now, I mean, it's always nice to know a little bit about these things. I sometimes go to engineering conferences. I learn a little bit about engineering ideas and techniques. And so I know a few things, but I don't write code and I don't have to. I'm also not a visual designer, and I find jobs that don't require me to be a visual designer. But I know a few things about visual design. I know some things about design systems. I've been trained in accessibility. So to me, I know some important stuff, but I'm certainly no expert on typography and things like that. So I always tell people, learn the things that you're interested in learning. Hello, Debbie and friends from Glenn. Hi, Glenn. Look, you can't go wrong knowing things about other disciplines. I would never tell you don't learn things about other disciplines, but I wouldn't necessarily try to super upskill in other areas unless you want to do those things day to day. To me, if you're a researcher, it's good to know information architecture. It's good to know some things about interaction design, but I don't expect you to do the design if you're the researcher. If you'd like to get more into research and design and be more of the designer, then sure, you would want to upskill in some of these areas. But to be successful in research, I don't think you have to know these things to be successful in research. And I see your question, and I will put it on the end of the long list. Okay, so hopefully for the person that asked that, I hope that helps. And let's take a look at the next question. Okay, paste. There we go. When starting work on an existing product, how much time do you dedicate to kick off discovery that helps inform a larger research proposal, such as stakeholder interviews and a UX audit? Depends. That's the bad news. It depends. Yeah, so it really depends on the project. There are times where I do the UX audit and there are times where I don't. There are times where I don't do stakeholder interviews. So to me, there isn't it's not an always thing, but work on an existing product. Yeah, I mean, you could do stakeholder interviews to learn what their definition of success would be, and to learn their perspectives on the problem, though remember, they might not see the problem the way the user does. You could do a UX audit, but that's a look at what the problems are now. So I think that when you do a UX audit and things like that, depending upon the team you're on, you could accidentally fall into the trap of, well, I found these problems in the UX audit, so let's just fix these problems. We'll just do a little change. And the question is, are you trying to do just a small incremental change and a little touch up, or are you trying to really rethink this, really redefine it, or really go somewhere special with it? I think that the more we're trying to redefine and go somewhere special, the more I would look at doing more things around generative research. So I would say your time is best spent on more generative research. You can do the UX audit, but if this is something that you're going to blow out of the water with a new version or a vastly different version, you know, the UX audit is going to be like, well, here's how it used to be and this was bad. Good thing we have this new version. So I think you have to think about what we're doing, whether it's just small fixes and improvements and incremental changes, or more of that bigger rethinking, redefining on an existing product. So it depends, because I always try to match part of strategy is matching the tasks to the project. That's why there isn't always one answer. So I would say I'm not a big stakeholder interviewer, because I think that can be answered in an email, or Slack. You're like, hey, what's your success criteria? Hey, thanks. See, I didn't have to book a meeting. I'm great. So yeah, I'm sorry I don't have more of an answer to that. I don't know if that's going in the right direction for what you're looking for, but hopefully that gives you some answer there. I think the most important thing you can do is spend more time on the generative research. Don't focus too much on what's happening now. Focus more on what it could be. So there you go. Okay, back to Elizabeth's question. Oh, and I see another one is coming in anonymously now. Let's catch that and put it on the list. Okay, I see the anonymous question. I'll put that on the list. We might be running late today. We have a very long list of questions. And my voice is already a bit rough. Yow, yow. Okay, where are we? We're on the design thinking question from Elizabeth. Hopefully Elizabeth is still with us. Okay. Design thinking. I received an offer for a position that has a design thinking group that conducts quick UX research and develops prototypes that get sent to a larger UX group for further research and testing. Does this even seem like design thinking? I'm concerned that they even call themselves design thinking, but as a UX newbie, I don't know what to think. Okay, I see the rest of your question and we'll put it on the list. Good, Elizabeth, you're here. Let's talk about this. So, in my world, this might be a company where you are not staying too long. No offense to them if they're watching, but you run the risk of losing Elizabeth, in my opinion, because design thinking is not UX. Design thinking is not a UX process. Design thinking is not user-centered design. And actually, if we think about lean and lean waste, thank you, Linda. It sounds like this is wasteful. It sounds like what they're really shooting for is product discovery, is how can we make sure that we are building the right things for our customers. And what many companies do is they try to start with the least research they can do. And I'm not saying your company's doing the least, but sometimes it's the least research we can do. Then we call for some sort of workshop where everyone's going to guess what people would want to fix whatever we think the problem is, and boom, we pick a prototype by voting, which has nothing to do with the user, and then we're going to tell UX, work some more on this. And I think the problem is that, to me, that's waste that could be cut. And Elizabeth, you're welcome to show this clip to them if you have the things and want to do that, optional. So I think what I would be advising is if we had really good, thorough generative research up front. So let's do a cost-benefit analysis. We can compare quick research, quick prototypes and design thinking exercises, and then UX having to do further research and testing on this, to cutting the design thinking and UX just doing the research and the testing. It seems like we've added something to this without adding something to this. It sounds like we've made this longer and made this cost more because we love workshops. And, design thinking feeds the emotional needs of an organization to feel like they're being collaborative and to feel like they're being innovative. But in many cases, I think these are expensive time wasters. So what would it cost the company to have done excellent generative research up front, to really understand the users and customers, to see their unmet needs and their pain points, to get together and prioritize which of these needs and pain points should we go after first, and then have UX design around that. Then you barely need discovery and design thinking and all of these types of things, because instead of going we think people aren't converting enough, how can we make them convert more? Okay, let's throw some ideas around. We're just doing this the right way. with user-centered design. And I wonder which one costs less. People like to imagine that UX takes so long and it costs so much, but it's like, compare that to your cycles of quick guesses and quick ideas. So I'm just making a note to myself, you know, we think about product discovery and design thinking. Yeah, I mean, there's so much of product discovery that you wouldn't need anymore because we're not working from, we think this idea could work. UX, now you check it out and you figure it out and you work with it. Well, we didn't need you for that. So Linda, I would say, I'm sorry, you're not Linda. I see Linda on the screen. So Elizabeth, I think you're right to be a little skeptical of this. I think design thinking is just a bandwagon that everybody's jumped on. And I encourage people to watch some of my videos about design thinking. I also have my recent article that called "Was Design Thinking Designed to Not Work?" And I actually propose that design thinking was specifically made to become an addictive workshop habit that actually doesn't do what it promises. Send that to somebody, see how it goes. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, next question. Elizabeth, do you have a follow-up question there? Did that help at all? I think you're seeing things the way they are. Let's try our next question. And we'll wait to hear from Elizabeth because there's always a little delay. Okay, how do you suggest forming a strategy to designing a product that has had 2 years of bias development? Elizabeth says, that answered it. Thank you. Thank you. 2 years of bias development already done. And the founder wants the product designed around his own bias assumptions and then user tested later with users to validate and reiterate or iterate. This product is highly complex, and in the healthcare space, this is why these things have already been done. I'm struggling to come up with a strategy for approaching this beast. Okay, so there's a few things here that I think that you can do. First of all, if this person is against research, and they might be because they think they've got all the ideas, the visions in their head, let's just make what's in their head. Surely that's the only way. If this person is against research, but they're okay with user testing or usability testing, if you are responsible for the usability testing, I expect you to use that opportunity the best way possible. Because what I sometimes see in this situation are what I call forgetting the goal of the research, where somebody says, okay, we've got this task or this flow in this healthcare system, and we are going to just test it. And we have this idea, and we have a prototype, and now we're going to usability test it. And what they test for is, did people eventually get through it? Did people make it through? Does it seem okay? Is the, you know, and the standards are incredibly low, you know, and so I think that's where you, as the usability tester, can be clever and can make sure to test for, are we solving the original problem? Test for, is this an efficient process? Was this intuitive? Did people figure it out the first time? Was this obvious? Was this going to, does this look like it's going to shorten their task time if it's a new version or variation of what they have now? If it's a totally new product, then you can't really compare because they didn't let you do the research to see how people do this now. So I would say the Trojan horse here is your user testing, because you have the opportunity to look for things other than the lowest, saddest standards of, did people kind of make it through this eventually? And I see that sometimes being used as the standard. It's not phrased that way, but that's essentially our standard. Did people kind of sort of make it through? Well, then this must be good, keep going. But I think somebody who's really good at usability testing would be able to write a test with a little bit more science and technique and a little bit more rigor, so that you are really finding not just the flaws in the execution, but possibly the flaws in the idea. I think about a usability test I saw in 2013 on a project where I was the designer, and I had come up with a design, and the client said, no, 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 that is not what I want. That's not, I'm never going to allow that. No, 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 do it this way. And I said, okay, save as, and I made version 2, and I did it the way that they said. And when usability testing came around, they hired an outside company. So I had nothing to do with it. I was just watching remotely live. And they showed 8 people the second design. But I mean, I saw this with the first person. So imagine they're showing the first person that second design, and the person's like, yeah. Oh, hey, Just Mags. Whoa, thank you. Yay, thank you. Thank you for the $3. I will eat the chocolate. They said, yeah, you know, this is okay. And then they said, but I'd never use your company. And I was like, yes, because that was my hypothesis. My hypothesis was there was no reason to use this, you know, because you can throw in a couple of zingers there, like, you know, now when would you use this? You know, luckily these people all volunteered that. They all literally said, I would not use this. And they weren't even asked. That was the genius of that. But I think that, and then the great part was they showed my design second, and everyone said, oh, this one's better. This one's much easier. So I was like, yes, but mostly, yes, nobody wants this product. So I think there are ways that you can try to slip some things into usability testing, either moderated or unmoderated, that's going to tell you a little extra. And maybe you can use that to find a way to break a little hole in what this person thinks, and say, you know, we should do more research up front and make sure we're building the right things the right ways, you know. And I've gone through this in other places as well, where there's someone who has a vision and an idea for a product and they're just set on it. And sometimes I'll go in and make a design even if they didn't ask me to. You could do that. Could you make a design? Could you spend 10 hours making a design you believe is miles better? And if they see it and if they like it, and especially if it usability tests well, then you have to start to say to them, maybe you don't have all the best ideas. You've got good ideas, but there's more out there than just what you think. And this is only successful if it works for everybody. It can't just work for you and be what you like, but it also depends on your relationship with that person. So let me know, use the anonymous asking if you have a follow-up question, because I know you might not want to say who you are, though I know who you are. And you might not want to write in the chat. So let me know if I'm on the right track there, or if you have a follow-up question. Meanwhile, I will grab the next question. Oh, I just clicked all the wrong buttons. Please hold. Oh, is that what that button does? Oh, that's neat. What is it doing? I have no idea what's about to happen. I pressed the wrong button. I hope it doesn't end the show. What does button number 2 do? Well, I pressed button number 2 and now it's acting all weird. There's no way to unpress button number 2. Well, what have I done? Am I still on the air? What is button 2? Button 2, picture in picture with a zoom effect. Okay, we're not seeing that. Still here. All right, I know what button 2 does, but I can't seem to turn it off. All right, eventually I'll shut this down. All right, moving on. You're live. Thank you, Dipta. This is a neat question that came in. Question, what do you think about job positions that require you to do it all? UX, UI, visual design. Okay, so I think a bunch of things about this that in some cases are controversial. So prepare thyself. Let me just check what's coming in the anonymous thing. I want to see if it's a follow-up from our last question. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My email is running late. What network am I on? No. Okay, let's get off that slow network. I think I'm on my backup network today, so hopefully the speed is all right. All right, so what about these jobs? So one of the things that I've noticed about these jobs is that, yeah, Maggie says red flag, ah. Yeah, for sure. So there's a couple of things about these jobs that worry me. One is, what will your priorities be and who will set those priorities? Because very often when you get a jack of all unicorns job, you are doing the UX work and someone says, where's the visual design? And you're like, well, I'm doing the UX. And they're like, forget about that. We need the visual design. Then you're doing the visual design and someone says, well, did you test it? Well, no, I stopped doing the UX. I'm doing the visual. Well, we need to test it. So you have to be careful that there's often an inability to see the process through end to end with the amount of time you need to do it well. Chances are this is going to be rushed and skimmed on and a mess and struggle from a lack of priority. It's what I call a moving target job. You're magically never working on the right thing because now we need something else. So I tend to be against jack of all unicorns jobs for that reason. I am, Glenn says early bird UX. I'm also against these jobs because I think they're part of the reason Agile and engineers hate us, because they think, well, there's one UX person who does everything. I just need to put one UX person on my team or on this project, and they're going to do everything, and I'll have everything I need next week. Well, thing one, that's unreasonable. So you're not going to get the time you need to do the work well. You're going to end up skipping, skimping, cutting corners. Raquel says, hey, that's 3 to 4 jobs for the salary of one. And she is right. You are definitely underpaid. I told a story in this morning's office hours about a job I worked at where after I quit, they replaced me with 6 people. Glenn says, companies with a mature UX setup don't post positions like this. Some of them do. You'd be surprised. Udipta says, I think this happens more in startups. No, it's really everywhere, everybody. I'm sorry to tell you. This is definitely everywhere because people don't understand UX and they don't understand the time it takes to do it well. So they think, hey, I just need one of those artsy people who says they do UX and can do Figma, and they'll get us our stuff in like 2 days and we'll just keep moving fast because we're so fast. So I think that these jobs are a one-way ticket to burnout city. I think, as Raquel said, these jobs are overworking you for underpay because they should be multiple. These are multiple people's full-time jobs. I think I have a whole chapter about this in my book. So this is multiple people's full-time jobs. This doesn't make sense. And this does represent a lot of jobs right now, but these jobs are unreasonable. And I'm hoping eventually, as CX catches on more and companies care more about the customer experience and user experiences and their NPSs are terrible, that someone will say, oops, we should probably do this right. Raquel says in some scenarios, they even ask for a developer. Let's put Denise's question on the end. Hi, Denise, how are you? Let's put her question on the end. We still have a few more questions before Denise, but I am catching up. And to the person who asked the healthcare question, we're ships in the night, aren't we? We missed each other. And I never found out why, but maybe I just did. Okay, we have Shai's question, and it looks like this. Hi, Debbie. How do I convince the product owner the importance of research? They are being a gatekeeper. They expect me to create personas based on their inputs. Is there a middle ground? To me, there's no middle ground because you ultimately cannot create personas based on crappy, bad guessed at data combined with properly obtained good data. That's going to be a kind of crappy persona. My question would also be, are personas that important? We've done a couple of shows over in the Micro Lessons playlist on how you can generate personas from task analysis, which means you've done observational research, and we've done shows on why you might not need a persona at all. I think people get over-focused on personas, especially if they've done boot camps or some of these other things. It's like, we've got to have personas. You don't. Sometimes I do them and sometimes I don't. Ryan says, I will follow up question. Okay. Keep me posted, Ryan. I hope it's better than it sounds. Oh, I like your picture. Let's put up the friendly Ryan face. Oh, I didn't press the right button. Send. There he is, everybody. So good to see you here. Yeah, so back to the question. We'll overlap Ryan there. So first of all, if you cannot convince somebody else of the value of research, remember the problem isn't you. Don't let it mess with your mental health. You didn't break it. You can't fix it. You can only try. And I don't want you to get too upset about it if it doesn't work, because some people never change. Some people don't accept new information. So number one, don't put this on you. So what I tend to do in these situations is you've got to start, I would tell this person, well, where do we document risk? Where do we document the risk to our project if our personas are wrong? We're guessing at the personas. We're going by what we think the personas. Remember, don't say you, just say we, just to keep it, defused. We're going by what we think we know about people, but what's the chances that we're 100% correct? What's the chances that we're a little wrong, a lot wrong? And then if we're a little or a lot wrong, what's the chances that this hurts the project, hurts the company? Where do we document this risk so that if we find out later we built something wrong because the personas were kind of guessed at, product owner, are you going to take responsibility for that? Do we really think it's better to guess at stuff than to know? To me, Agile would want you to know, and Lean would want you to know. So what's the benefit of guessing? Now, very often they'll say, well, that's faster. I don't want to take the time to do research. It's faster to guess. Now I'd say, then why don't we guess at everything? Why bother hiring me to do UX? You can just guess at the product and give it straight to a developer. And in fact, we don't even need QA. That's a line that I had in a talk from a few years ago that I heard Jared Spool stole. Wait, hey, we don't even need QA. You want to save time? Stop QAing your code. Developers are good. Just put out the code. But, we do these things because we care about quality. How do you determine percentages of risk? So I don't know how to determine a percentage of risk, but I definitely do recommend that companies keep risk registers, which are kind of like documents where you say, there exists this risk. What are we going to do about it? Because in many companies, you want to be aware of risks. If you have a corporate strategy team at your company, you are sure they are trying to figure out what risks exist to our business and what we're going to do about it. This is supposed to happen at the project level as well. And very often it's a document or a board or whatever called a risk register. I didn't invent this. This is out there. And the idea is that if we understand some risks up front, we can make sure to be more agile and more lean by A, not being surprised by these risks down the road when they happen, and B, coming up with a plan now of what we're going to do, either to make sure the risk never happens and knock that out early, or if we are lazy and we're going to wait for the risk to happen, what do we do when that happens? So look up risk registers and risk mitigation. It's a whole world, and at some companies there's multiple people's jobs, and that's what they do. So I believe that we should have risk registers at the project level so that we can document if something is not being done well or correctly, and we can say, there's risk here. There's risk to guessing. There's risk to giving UX 2 days to guess at some screens. There's risk to rushing out something. There's risk when the product manager says, just release it, we'll fix it later. So you already know it's broken. These are all risks. So these should be documented even if we don't have a percentage. Faye, hi. One thing I love so much about you, Debbie, is how well you demonstrate your thought process. So much information I learned from how you process information. Yeah, thank you. To me, it's all about the critical thinking and possible outcomes and what ifs and playing those out to the next steps and trying to think ahead. I think of that as my specialty. I remember 20 or so years ago, I used to say, I had a slogan for my company that was something like, we keep things from happening before they ever happen, or I don't remember what it was. And Shai says, I'm also expected to create user journeys based on a competitor analysis. How valuable do you think that exercise is? Completely valueless. Let's put it that way. Let's jump in with Shai's follow-up question. How valuable is it to make a competitor journey based on what we see a competitor doing? Completely without value. And Shai, feel free to show this video to your product owner, to your manager. This video is public, and I welcome people to share it with the people at their company, especially if you've asked a question. So hello, people at Shai's company. UX documents are designed to help us have business intelligence and risk identification and mitigation. Hi, I'm Debbie from Delta CX. And you may know me from, Simpsons reference. So if we have guessed at personas then we are hypothetically going to base current and future work on a document that is a guess. If we have guessed at customer journeys, then we have future work or current work that we are guessing, we are creating based on a guess. And chances are our customer journey doesn't look anything like what our competitor's doing, or if you want to do it right, it shouldn't look like the customer journey, because guess what? They can already get it from the customer. Don't we want to do something different and better? To create a customer journey map, you are supposed to observe our customers, not steal from competitors, not copy from competitors. Shai says, this is my internship. Yeah, please share, everybody. Shai is a cool person. Listen to Shai. Am I saying your name correctly? I'm so sorry. It could be she. I don't know. I'm so bad at names. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, and if you want to talk to me, I talk to companies for free. Let's book some time. I'm available to you. I want to set you going in the right direction, but this is risky, and you should have a risk register, and there should be the risk that our customer journey maps are garbage because we guessed at them and we copied a competitor and we drew a customer journey map based on what we think people are doing, based on what we think people are doing on some other company's website that is evidently so bad that our company exists just to be better than they are. Where's Cobby when I need him? What? So this doesn't make any sense. And the whole point of UX, again, business intelligence and risk mitigation. You want to make sure you are doing observational research with buckets and buckets of your target customers to see what they're doing now, which may be on a competitor's website, it may be on your website, it may be both, it may be in other tools and systems and apps and whatever. You've got to learn what they're doing now. You've got to learn their end-to-end task. Let's put it up. Oh, wrong button. That was confetti. Yay! End-to-end task, everybody. Let's talk about end-to-end tasks. Sorry, I pressed the fade out button by mistake. We've got our trigger. The trigger is, hey, I need a thing. I got to do a thing. I got to apply for a job. I got to buy some lighting. I've got to do whatever Shai's company does because I don't know what it is. And I need a thing. Well, now, what company should I get that thing from? What product do I want? That's the orbit. Are they going to pick you, the competitor, both, something else? Now they're orbiting. They're making their decisions. Maybe they have other people who they collaborate with on this decision. Maybe it's a romantic partner. I'm pointing to my boyfriend. Maybe it's their boss. Maybe it's somebody who's got the money. There's the whole process in here that if we knew about, we would probably be innovating. But we ignore that because we take a look at the ecosystem. Okay, they got to our website or app, they did these things, and then they left. But that is not the end of the end-to-end journey. The end-to-end journey ends after whatever they do after they're in your system or the competitor's system, because something always happens after. You bought something on Amazon, you're waiting for the package. You signed up for a product, maybe you're trying it out. You're waiting to see if you're going to decide and go with it. You're signed up for a product, now you got to get in there and use it. There's always something that happens after those moments on our website, and sometimes they happen on our website, sometimes outside of our world. That's the action. So if you can research and understand your target customers' current journeys, you will see insights and opportunities of what you can build that can be different from your competitor. And that's where it gets exciting, because typically that's where you are going to blast off into space and do something special rather than just copy the competitors. You can't even copy the competitor's journey. I mean, this sounds like it must be e-commerce or something, that you're going to go to the competitor's website and see homepage, search results, product page, cart, checkout. Remember, that's not the journey the way the customer sees it. That's your sales funnel. There is a difference between your sales funnel or your acquisition process and the customer's journey. Because the customer's journey doesn't start with awareness or I'll put a thing in my cart. That is not where it starts. It starts with, I need a thing. And the more we can understand about that, the more our company is going to build the right thing for customers and beat the competition. Shai, how's that? How am I doing? Any follow-up questions? Oh no, we're running late. I'm so sorry we're running late, but I'm going to run late today because I want to get to everybody's questions, and I don't have a call after this. Shai says, yeah, it's a food delivery app. Exactly. It starts from I'm hungry, or it starts from we need to eat later and I'm not cooking. And there's so many interesting things that you can learn from that point. I know I'm still pointing at a graphic that's not up, but you know, I could put it up. So many things that we can learn from that. Now, what am I going to do about that? What am I going to do about being hungry? What am I going to do about not wanting to cook later or not being able to cook later? What about people who already know I'm not going to cook tomorrow? Could we catch people ordering something really in advance? Does that exist? I don't know. I don't live in America anymore, so I'm not surrounded by food delivery and food delivery apps. This is so big in major cities. I live in the country in the middle of nowhere, as many of you know. And so I'm no longer thinking about food delivery apps. But I'm making a decision. What do I feel like eating? Who's going to make it? How am I going to get it? Are they going to bring it to me? Am I going to go get it? Can I get it on my way home from work? Can I ask my partner to get it? Orbit. Mag says, you can schedule food. Yeah, great. So now they're in your system and they're ordering that food. How can that be better than the competition? Afterwards, waiting for the food. You know, a lot of delivery apps have you tracking it. You know, where's my driver? How do I contact my driver? How can my driver contact me if they can't find where I am? Nobody can find where I am. I got the food. How was the food? Was there a mistake in the order? What happens next? When you can get to know the end-to-end customer journey of how people do this now, how they perceive it, what their priorities are, how they make decisions, you have the chance to be different. Free advice. You're welcome. All right, let's look at another question. Let's see, how many do we have left? We have this one and one more. So we'll do, so Denise has the last question tonight. We'll do a question and then Denise. And then we'll call it a night. And sorry, I ran late. Oh, this one needs a smaller font. Please hold. Okay. And here we go. Debbie talked about this one in the show about entry-level UX jobs. Where can I get a UX job? Every startup wants 5 people. Yeah, we just talked about that. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about startups wanting 5 people rolled into one. We just talked about that today. Roll this video back 20 minutes. Maggie says, in interesting cases when people share accounts. Yeah, like I'm logged into the delivery app. My boyfriend's logged into the delivery app. How do we coordinate that? I like it. Okay, second to last question. Sorry, I'm no longer taking questions. We'll be out of time. If anyone asks a question, it's going to be next week's. I'm working on one of the products of the company. It's a redesign of the UI to make it modern. Okay, so that sounds like reskinning, visual redesign, not necessarily changing UX or features. That's the way I hear that. While solving the existing UX problems. Okay, so it's both. So it's polishing up the UI and fixing some UX problems. Oh, by the way, everybody, remember YouTube is going to block links. You have to do like the Russian porn spammers, and you have to add some periods, add some spaces inside your URL so it doesn't look like URL. Whenever I come up with a concept, I have resistance from other products leaders who say all products should align in design. I understand that, but I don't see a way to improve the product I'm responsible for without touching other products. I feel lost. What are your suggestions? Okay. So the word align, I tend to think of as a passive-aggressive way to say, I need you to do what I want, and I need you to agree with me whether or not you do. Debbie versus Russian porn spammers. Yes, today they almost won, but Pierre Mario came in and erased it. So I don't like to see the word align because I read between the lines. I don't like it. So I think the thing is, if your job is to make it, if one person is saying, make this better, fix its problems, and the other team is saying, no, don't fix it too much, then it's not going to look like this other stuff. Well, then we need to have somebody at a high level who is a strategist come in and fix this, because this is beyond you. This could be your manager. This could be someone who's playing a strategic product role or a strategic UX role. And the question is, how do we balance our need to fix our problems with people in the company saying, but don't fix it so much that it's going to look different than the crap that we clearly have over here. Because remember, this wouldn't be a problem if this were better. We wouldn't be worried that a better version of this isn't going to match this if this weren't so bad. This is a wake-up call to your other product leaders that it all needs fixing. And maybe what I would tell them is, if me fixing this makes yours look different, then clearly yours is also broken and also needs fixing. Why don't you take the fixes I put over here and bring them into your product or your side of the product or your feature or whatever? This sounds like an opportunity for you to lead the way to make fixes that other products or areas that have a similar pattern or broken crap can now learn from your fix and implement that fix. I forgot who asked that. Is that helping? Am I close? If that was anonymous, you don't have to say so. I hope I'm close. But you have to improve the product. If we are going to use, well, it already looks like this as a reason to not make it better, then everyone just quit now. Your product is done. Your product is never going to evolve. Your product's never going to get better. All your customers should give up. You send your customers a letter. Dear customers, we've decided we're not going to fix or improve any of this because we're having trouble aligning. So if you decide that you are customer-centric or user-centric, then you have to make the product better. And if that means putting other product leaders in the awkward spot of having to look at their own house and fix the problems in their own house, then I'm for it. But we need someone to look at this strategically and plan these projects. Because yes, we don't want these things to be very different for too long. Maybe when you have your designs ready, then you are making sure the other teams know about it and they are working on their fixes so that maybe yours comes out first, or maybe you hold yours off and maybe all these launch together. Maybe yours launches first, whatever it might be. I think they could all launch together, though sometimes companies don't like to hold things back. They want to get it out there. But I think this is a wake-up call for the other product leaders if they are telling you not to improve a product, because then they're not going to be consistent. When I come up with a concept, I have resistance who say all products should align in design, but your job is to make it better. So do they not want it made better? Put it in the risk register. I was told to make the product better, but then another product leader came in and said, nope, these all have to look the same and that's more important than making them better. My risk register will say, product leader, name them, said it's more important for these things to look the same than for them to get better. Then you run that up the flagpole to someone higher up and someone strategic and see how that goes. Fake smile. Last question. Sorry we're running so late, but it's hard for these to be short when we have so many questions. Okay, this is from our good friend Denise. Always good to see Denise. Denise, you still living in Germany? How's that going? Hi, Debbie. What else skills should a UX designer have other than common UX must-have skills? Ooh, that's hard. First of all, what are common UX must-have skills? You know, what do you see as common must-have skills? Then that'll tell me what you don't have. So what should a UX designer have other than common skills? I don't know. I feel like in many cases the things I think are common skills are, or maybe what I think are must-have skills are common skills. I'm sleepy. I'm not too sure what I'm even saying at this point. But hey, Wilson, good to see you. Welcome back. So Denise, I think there's a lot of things here. From the practitioner side, information architecture. Information architecture is a really important skill, and so many people don't know about it. I think more people need to have more studying and practice in information architecture. Read the Polar Bear book, put it into practice, get somebody to look at your work, make it better. Sorry, I'm taking off my shoes. You can't see them. They're cute shoes, though. I would, and I just found they seem to be discontinued, so you can't even have them. They're so good. Hashtag not sponsored. I love them. Information architecture is a bit of a lost art. I think more UX people, even researchers, can benefit from knowing information architecture. From the personality side, there's always presentation skills and public speaking. I think we have to get more comfortable giving presentations, making sure they're to the point. I'm not always to the point, but hopefully I'm telling a good enough story that you haven't lost interest. But, being more concise and to the point with our presentations, making sure we're giving people the facts they want to know. I think being a mini lawyer is important in UX. How good are you at standing up for something unemotionally? We talked a few weeks ago with Jan from Poland about advocating for UX using debating techniques. That was a fun show. Roll back in the live stream podcasts playlist to that one. That was neat. I think you do need a bit of that. When you are an advocate, you are a mini lawyer, you are a mini debater. I think these are important skills that you might not have thought of. Anybody else in the live chat? Anybody else watching the show live? Skills we think a UX designer should have that might not be common. I always hope critical thinking is common. And yet, I'm always surprised that it's not. Storytelling and business knowledge. Those are great as well, yeah. Storytelling I would put in the bucket with public speaking and presentation. So how can you present things in ways that people want to hear about it? Maggie says, boundaries and trade-offs, agree on the lawyer skills. Healthy boundaries. Yeah, healthy boundaries are tough. If you are in UX, you probably want to help people and you probably say yes a lot more than you should. Boundaries are important for mental health. So I would agree with Maggie there. Boundaries. And certainly agree with Raquel on business knowledge. I know that UX always wants to make decisions for the users first or only, but of course we do have to think a bit about the business. That was one reason why I got an MBA. I wanted to make sure that in the work that I do, that I am focused on things that are important on the business side as well. So we have one more question coming in and then we will wind up for the day. Ethics, yeah. Yeah, I think ethics, I tend to feel like ethics is either, Denise says stakeholder management. Yeah, I think that's kind of a combination of some of the things that we were just talking about. Stakeholder management is lawyer advocacy, storytelling, I think it all comes together. Mag says +1. We don't talk about ethics and inclusive design enough. Yeah, Mag's totally right there. I'm pointing at it. Am I close? Totally right there. And my concern about that is we can talk about it, but I think there are some people who by nature are not ethical, who by nature are not inclusive. And it's really easy for us on this channel to talk about ethics and inclusivity because that's what we're about. Me and everybody in the audience, I know you are on the same page with me about those types of things. So what are we going to do about those? And that's the hard part because there are a number of people who see things opposite. There are people who are racist, sexist, ageist, homophobic. Yeah, Maggie says the realities of our world. I know. And I always hope that talking about it will make a difference, but I think that we have to take more action. And one thing that I'm going to be calling for even more this year is accountability. Because you can talk about ethics and DEI and all of that till we're all blue in the face. But if you're not holding people accountable for their toxic behavior, for their narcissism, for their gaslighting, for their racism and ageism, if you're not holding your workers accountable, and especially if those people get promoted, I don't want to hear about your empathy. I don't want to hear about your diversity. I don't want to hear about it. So to me, that stuff we do need to talk about, but it all comes down to accountability. If we're not holding people accountable and punishing or getting rid of those crappy people, then it's talk. And so we need more talk, but we need more action. Denise says emotional intelligence. Yeah, Darren's got lots of stuff on emotional intelligence. You can track that down. We did have one late question sneaking in, and I will answer it quickly because it has a lightning fast answer. And it is, how skilled do you need to be in Figma? Skilled enough to get a job. I don't know what else to tell you. Figma seems like the kind of thing you can learn in a few hours, and then you're using it. So, are there advanced Figma skills? Sure. But, it's up to the people hiring you. Yeah, A+ answer. Yeah. How skilled do you have to be in Figma? Enough to convince an employer that you can use Figma. Which I can't do. I don't use Figma. So, yeah, on that note, I think we're good. What a super show, and my voice is shot. So I'm definitely going to play us out of here. Let's see, tomorrow we do have a show. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and I'm going to be reading my article about real lean versus fake lean. So we'll be having a discussion around lean tomorrow if you'd like to learn more about lean. And I would like you to learn more about lean because when I say business intelligence and risk mitigation and all of that, the more we're speaking, as Raquel just said, the more we're speaking the business's language, the more they're going to listen to us. When we show up and we say empathy and delight, people just think we're fluffy and weird. So I want us to learn more business language, so I'll be talking tomorrow about lean. Real lean, not fake lean. Maggie says, same with most tools, enough to convince them and do the job. Raquel says, good night. Yeah, Raquel and I think, are in the same time zone, coming up on 8 p.m. Good night to Raquel. Good to see you. Glenn says, I'd rather learn Axure. Please do. It's free on the channel. Udipta says, see ya. Maggie says, ciao. Val says, thank you. And I will see everybody tomorrow to talk about lean. So with that, I will try to press all the buttons. Oh, it looks like this one looks like my how skilled do you have to be in Figma is not going to go away. So we will just play ourselves out of here anyway. Thanks, everybody. Be safe. See you tomorrow. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are